Hi and welcome to Transmission. Tonight I am joined by Marlee from various community organisations. So we're having a bit of a chat before, and you're involved with Y Gender, also involved with minus 18. So there was a ukulele type thing as well.
Yeah.
So a few different places.
Indeed.
So Y Gender, so how long have you been involved with them?
Y Gender, I've been on the committee for this year, and I've been in attending Y Gender events for a few years now. So it's
And so what sort of stuff do you get to do on the committee?
At the moment with Y Gender, I get to run events, and I get to do a heap of behind the scenes work. So making sure that everything's running smoothly, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you enjoy sort of doing all that sort of behind the scenes stuff, or?
I do actually. I really enjoy doing behind the scenes work, and I think it's really important to know everything that goes into what makes an event work. So
cool.
I don't know. I'm very methodical. I'm like yes.
So everything's very well organised. Then I'm guessing in terms of is there a specific you plan it out to the T, or is it
I make two plans. Mm-hmm. One is a very structured, this is exactly how it's going to run. Yeah. And the other one is this is very loosely structured. And if the loosely structured one fails, then I move to the very intense structure.
Nice. Yeah. So sort of Y Gender for sort of, this year in terms of doing committee stuff. So what sort of is your involvement in minus 18?
I'm just on their crew, and I take photos for them, and I take some photos with them, I guess, and I just get involved with everything I can help out with. Yeah.
And so take photos, so do you do sort of photography as a hobby, or is it more just,
It's just an interest, and at minus 18, on top of running amazing events for young people, are also really good at engaging people in their interest groups when you join their crew. So.
Okay. And so photography was something that you sort of identified?
Yeah.
That you enjoyed? So
photography and comms and media, so yeah.
Cool. So do you get to sort of do any of that sort of outside of the organisations that you're volunteering for, or?
There's not a huge amount of opportunity when you're 18 and wanting to get involved in something like that. It's outside of that while you're still in school. I don't have a lot of spare time, so it's amazing to be able to do that when I've got spare time and get involved with stuff.
Yeah.
I have some issues with overcommitment and getting involved in everything.
I can relate. That's okay. That's okay. So at the moment, at high school at the moment, so that I'm assuming taking up a bit of time.
Yes.
Sort of coming towards sort of the nitty gritty end of high school. It's year 12 at the moment. How's that sort of stuff going?
I'm doing okay, I guess.
Yeah.
I could probably be a better student, but I'm doing lots of things that I love all at the same time, and I'm doing a lot of stuff that I was told, hey, you can't do that in year 12, and I'm just proving everyone wrong.
Excellent. So then that's when the overcommitment type stuff comes in.
Yeah, it's I had 1 week 6 sacks to do in 5 days, and 4 of them were in the space of 2 days.
Yeah.
So that was a week where I was like, oh no, and then I had 3 meetings on 3 nights of the week, and I was just like, whoa.
So already really busy in general. And before you were talking about, when we were having a chat about that you're involved with really into ukuleles.
I love ukulele.
Which, how does one become sort of involved in playing ukuleles?
Well, I started playing ukulele because I saw a group of people performing, and I just looked at them and I said, that is going to be so much fun. I want to do that so much. So I bought a $20 ukulele and just went and joined the local group and just never put it down, I guess.
Was it easy to find a local group? Because it doesn't, was it hard to sort of find?
There is one big group in Melbourne. It's the Melbourne Ukulele Collective, and they are the place to go for the ukulele.
Yeah.
But there's countless, I was trying to think of any to name in certain areas, but lots of areas have their own ukulele groups and meets, and it's really, an interesting community to be involved with.
Yeah, so in terms of, so did you sort of ever take lessons or anything, or did you sort of just teach yourself?
The group I was involved with run weekly beginners lessons before their main rehearsals, so I went to two beginners lessons, and then I was up with a big band performing, so I guess it was a bit of a natural thing for me to pick up on, but we have people of all different levels of experience in the group.
Yeah, and so you go and perform and do all those sorts of things?
Go and perform with them, and I perform on my own with my ukulele and my guitar, so I try to get around a bit with my performing.
Yeah, so ukulele, guitar, do you sort of do any other musical instruments, or is that enough?
Well, I sing, but my voice is going a bit funny at the moment. It's getting ready to break, so...
Excellent.
So I sing a bit, and I love my a cappella.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like one of my favourite things in Melbourne.
Are you in sort of any form of like a band or a group, or sort of do you perform by yourself?
I do a lot of solo work. It's it's easier because I'm one of those people who's like super organised, but also super busy. So I've just got like these like little tiny time brackets where I can rehearse, and it's really unfair of me to expect other people to fit in with them.
Yeah. And so do you sort of perform out and about, or sort of small things? Like what sort of stuff?
I busk throughout Melbourne CBD. My biggest crowd has been maybe 50,000 people.
So not many.
And my smallest crowd has been like 2.
Yeah.
So it's...
So can I ask, the 50,000 people, where was that?
That was at a very large protest.
Okay, cool. So, and you were performing as part of the sort of rally to start?
Yeah, I was just singing a song that people thought would be a good one, and I didn't expect that many people to come. Like when I was first asked to do it, they're like, we might get 3,000, and then on the day, just somewhere between 30,000 and 50,000 people.
So was that like quite nerve-wracking?
It didn't occur to me how many people were there until I was standing on stage singing and just realised that the whole area had filled up, and there were still people coming from like Lonsdale Street near the State Library, and I'm like, whoa.
Wow, because I mean, I'm just thinking like most people would freak out in terms of just speaking in front of that amount of people, but actually being able to perform is, as a sort of an 18-year-old, is something that I don't think most people would have that experience of.
I guess my student politics stuff has really assisted me. Getting involved in so many community organisations has really assisted me as far as my confidence goes in talking in front of people.
Yeah.
And performing is what I love doing. It's easier for me than talking, and honestly, it's easier to perform in front of 50,000 people than it is 4.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for sort of coming on and having a bit of a chat and sharing so much of, your limited time to come in and chat. So tonight we've been joined by Marlee. You're watching Transmission.
Georgia Dacakis is a speech pathologist, lecturer and clinical educator at Trobe University, Melbourne. Georgia is also the coordinator of the Voice Clinic at the Trobe Communication Clinic, where the majority of referrals received are for individuals seeking voice feminisation. And in 2013, the clinic saw over 60 people. Georgia has been a member of the Monash Gender Dysphoria team since 1980, first published in the area of voice and communications needs of male to female transsexual individuals in 1983, and has continued to publish and research in this field since that time.
Wow.
Wow, you've been doing it for a long time, haven't you?
Someone asked me once if it was my grandmother that published the 83 article.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, I thought so.
What are the normal pitch ranges for males and females?
Okay, for males we'll say 80 to 165, and for females 145 to 205. So people speak about the gender ambiguous range of being between 145 and 165, but I'm not keen on this because it's really an indication of where the pitch production overlaps. There are no studies to say that pitch in that range would produce an ambiguous voice. And in fact, voices as high as 180 have been perceived as male voices, simply because other characteristics such as the resonance and the intonation don't match.
So we're going to start with producing a buzz at the lips. We're going to blow through a very small orifice here by puckering like this. So if you take a deep breath from your diaphragm, it's just a simple very nice, Ashley.
Can we cover off trans men and why this isn't usually an issue for them?
Trans men are not usually referred to us simply because the hormones that they take, the androgens and the testosterone, increases the size of their larynx. And pitch is very much related to size of larynx, especially size of the vocal folds. And in trans men, the hormones increase the size of the vocal folds, they bulk them up. The vocal folds vibrate slower, their pitch is lower, and therefore they're able to achieve a lower pitch through the hormones that they take. That doesn't mean that they don't have some issues. We do see a very few number of people who have difficulty with projecting their voice and vocal fatigue, but as a whole, they're happy with the pitch that they attain.
And trans women don't have that same advantage, so when they take hormones, it doesn't actually magically fix the problem for them.
That's absolutely correct. So it doesn't decrease the size of the vocal folds. It has no impact on their vocal folds, so therefore they undertake therapy.
Okay. What are the differences between men and women's voices? Pitch is an obvious one, but what are some of the other differences?
Well, the average pitch is the obvious one. Pitch intonation. So the variability in the pitch, the colour of the voice is said to be different. Women are said to speak more with more colour in their voice. The resonance of the voice is very important. In fact, the literature shows that the best result is achieved by changing resonance and pitch at the same time. So in a biological male body, the resonance tends to be in the chest, whereas in the female, the resonance tends to be higher. So we do a lot of work with voice resonance. There are other non-voice aspects that some people work on, like vocabulary. So the exercises are those that increase pitch range and flexibility is the main point. And then once that's achieved, there are exercises using feedback from voice analysis software or nowadays some voice apps in order for the person to transfer their newly found pitch into speech and longer conversation and out into external to the clinic. We also undertake, check the person's breathing to make sure that they have enough breath support for the new voice, because it's not usually an easy task to change your voice. Even though some of the exercises are easy, it does take a lot of practice and concentration to achieve a voice that you can use out in public without too much concentration.
So we're going to start at a lower pitch and gently ascend like this.
How long does it take someone to find their voice? Do you find a large range?
There is a huge range, unfortunately. So the literature has reported between 4 and 99 sessions. I have to admit that the 99 sessions was me in 1980 because I had no idea what I was doing. I think 12 sessions is a good number of sessions to learn the techniques well.
Can we briefly cover off voice surgery? Does it ever work? How dangerous is it? Would you ever recommend it? And do we actually perform this kind of surgery in Australia?
Now, I've been to a number of international conferences recently, as recently as February this year, where there are surgeons who are introducing new surgery that focuses on decreasing the length of the vocal folds by sewing the cords together at one end, and this decreases the length of the vocal folds. The vocal folds vibrate faster and you have a higher pitch. Now, the samples that we saw were pretty good. So I'm starting to think that we need to reconsider the surgery. But in terms of Australia, there's no one that we work with that does any laryngeal surgery.
Okay.
Fantastic. Did you feel the buzz all the way through that? Nothing here?
Nothing.
Fantastic.
Does voice training that's taking place here at La Trobe help to break down transphobia, both at the university but also in the medical industry, given that you're training all those students and they're going out into the workforce?
I think we play a huge role in breaking down transphobia. Okay, since 1980, I've had 3 students who didn't want to do the clinic, and I said, I'm sorry, you have to. And at the end of the day, they say, thank you very much. All of our students, after they've met the individuals and worked with them, become advocates. And I say to them before they leave, you now need to go and speak this into existence, not only in your everyday lives when people say, what clinic are you in, what are you doing, but also when they go and work in their hospitals and amongst medical professions, because unfortunately there is a lot of discrimination amongst the medical profession. This is a known fact worldwide. So I think having our speech pathologists who have such a fabulous experience in this clinic, going out into the world and specifically in amongst the medical profession, they play a big role in breaking down transphobia.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Welcome back to Transmission on Bent TV. I'm Sammy Cameron, and today we're talking about relationships. Joining me today are Isabelle, Kurt and Grace. Thank you for joining me today.
Sammy.
So when do you come out as trans to your intended partner in a potential new relationship?
Well, it depends on what stage you are of transition, I guess. There are lots of different factors it depends on.
Yeah, I've been dating online a little bit recently, and in that space I have to come out, whereas in person usually it's kind of apparent, so that's been a curious change for me, and fairly early.
So I think the best thing to do is, as early as possible, actually, because if you leave it and then you reveal something like this to somebody, it can be quite challenging for them.
So what are the advantages of disclosing earlier versus later?
Less of a shock to response sometimes, I think. And also it may be that the relationship actually isn't going to work because of, your status.
So get it over and done with there and then, rather than falling in love and then
Wasting
time.
And also it's kind of relevant, at least for me, to who I am, It's like that's kind of something that's worth knowing, because you're not really seeing me if you're not seeing that I'm trans. In my case, I don't want to speak for everyone.
What are some of the special relationship challenges for someone who has a partner that's transitioning?
Well, I've got a partner at the moment, and I was with her before my transition. I've always been transgender up here, but have only been transitioning for 2 years now, and we've had some challenges to get through. A lot of the time she finds it hard that it's all about me all the time. So I try to recognise that she's going through certain things as well, and I need to support her because it's not all about me. We're a couple and we do things as a team. But I'm lucky enough to have a partner who loves me for me and not for what I am.
So what are some of the challenges we face that being trans can have when we're actually searching for love?
I think narrow-minded people, they're in the world, and it's...
Do you think that people are anxious about the uncertainty of what this person is going to be?
Yeah, absolutely, and also finding someone that you like, you don't know necessarily what they want. They might want someone with a penis, or who, might not necessarily look like a man, or the other way around. You don't know what they're after, and if what you've got is what they want.
So I guess the standard thing about love is that we should love the person, shouldn't we? Rather than, anything else about it.
people.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. But obviously, if you are transitioning, there's a lot of change that actually the other person has somehow got to go along on that journey with you, and it's not really something that they necessarily chose to. So one of the sort of issues and challenges you can come up to is that even if you disclose early, the other partner may feel, well, I didn't fully understand what this was all about until they actually start seeing it. So it's quite challenging. It's hard for them to.
And I think it's a different journey for the other person. In fact,
Absolutely.
It's a different journey for everybody else in our lives.
Yep.
And it is very much about just me. It really is, because it's so intense what we have to go through to deal with this.
I think also I would suggest that there are lots of people out there who really, really like trans people. Like, I've never had any shortage of finding people who are really thrilled to have that experience. Like, I don't think it's something that we always need to think about as being a negative that needs to be divulged. It can be like, there are a lot of people who are like,
Into it.
yeah.
Is online dating worth looking into? You said you've looked at it, or do you think meeting friends and hopefully falling in love with someone is a better way to go?
Well, I'm old-fashioned, so I think, the face-to-face meetings and contacts really are better, and I think that sort of works, especially from the sort of trans perspective, where you've got a much better opportunity to explain and express, who you are and what you're trying to achieve and why you do, or why you look like you do, or why you feel the way you do. So I think you can explain a lot more, and people are quite interested. If they can talk to you face to face, if they can ask you those questions and have that sort of dynamic sort of interchange, I think that's a really good way to go.
Because I think a couple of words on a website is an easy filter.
Yeah, it's a bit stereotypical, isn't it? You're going to get people perhaps who are searching specifically for something.
Yeah.
Also, face-to-face is a lot more honest, where online you can make yourself look like whatever you want to portray yourself as, but face-to-face is the real you, and there's mistakes in conversations and awkwardness, which is really good and what you need, to be honest.
Well, I would say those things happen online, and people certainly misrepresent themselves in person. I'm kind of think that both meeting people, I've had lovers who I've met face to face, and I've had lovers I've met online, and I see them as kind of, in many ways, much of a muchness. I wouldn't preclude one for the other.
Do some trans people feel more comfortable dating other trans people? Do you come across people?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know a lot of trans guys who sleep with other trans guys, and they tell me that the connection, there's nothing like that sort of connection with anybody else, because they know exactly how each other's bodies are going to respond, and similar inside their heads as well.
Okay.
We do see, trans people do tend to get together in relationships quite often. Probably also because it's a safe space. Yeah, I think that you're with somebody who kind of does understand your experience. And in a sense, you're coming out, but you're not coming out in the relationship. It's rather different.
I guess there's a whole lot of things you don't need to explain to your potential partner.
Right.
And all those things that are in common. What about the risk of physical danger for a trans person? And this tends to affect women more than it does men, the physical danger for a trans person seeking to get into a romantic relationship.
Well, look, there's always a potential risk for anybody trans in terms of being singled out by people that are not very tolerant of the situation. So I guess, we have all got to adopt sort of safe behaviours in terms of how we socialise, where we go, who we communicate with on the internet, and what we reveal about ourselves before we actually get, involved or start meeting people physically.
I think for trans men, it is, there is danger there, but certainly less than ladies. I am lucky enough to have a partner, so I haven't really got any experience on that one.
Wow. Yeah, I think, there are douchebags in the world, but I think if you kind of adopt a certain amount of kind of responsible kind of, what is the word?
Must be, look at the person you're talking to decide whether you
kind of be a little aware.
It's
not such a bad thing.
And I guess we're pretty lucky that we don't get exposed to these things too much in where we live.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Isabelle Curtin-Grace for joining us today. I'm Sammy Cameron on Transmission for Bent TV. I look forward to seeing you next time.